This video is sponsored by me. Well, really by the tens of members over on my Patreon page. They're a pretty fun bunch, and you're welcome to join them. Perks include early access to upcoming videos, downloadable exercises, transcriptions from lesson videos, and occasional patron-only videos. Shout me $1.50 to say thanks, $4.50 for full access. And if you pay more, who knows what sort of extra learning you'll get. Link in the description. Paying more may or may not lead to more learning. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the next lesson in the Let's Improvise series of videos. And in this lesson, we're going to be looking at the Wes Montgomery tune, Road Song. Wes Montgomery was a jazz guitarist who was prominent in the 1950s and 60s, and he was known for his more unorthodox way of playing the guitar. Rather than using a pick with his right hand, he would actually articulate the notes with his thumb. He wrote many tunes like Full House, D Natural Blues, West Coast Blues, and 4 on 6. All of these tunes can be found in the 6th edition of the Hal Leonard Real Book, along with today's featured tune, Road Song. Road Song was first featured on the album Further Adventures with Jimmy and Wes, released in 1966, under the alternate title of ODG. Or was it OGD? I don't know. It's called Road Song anyway. Although the album wasn't released until 1968, which was the year of Wes Montgomery's death. Let's have a look at the form of Road Song. Road Song is in the key of G minor, which is the relative minor of B flat major. This key has two flats in the key signature, B flat and E flat. Like so many jazz tunes, Road Song has a standard 32-bar AABA form, with the A and B sections being 8 bars in length. We start off with the 1-chord G minor in the first 2 bars, a D7 sharp 9 in bar 3, and a quick 2-5 in bar 4. Although we'll be using the chords in parentheses today for soloing. This is actually a major 2-5 leading to a minor 1 chord. The more standard choice, and my preference, would be to put a flat 5 on the 2 chord, which would make it a minor 2-5. This gives us an E flat as the flat 5, which fits better into the key, but you can play it with a natural 5, E natural if you want. The second line is very harmonically dense, with 2 chords per bar throughout. Most of these chords come straight out of the key of G minor, except for F minor 7, which has an A flat in it, and E minor 7 flat 5, which once again has an E natural in it. The 6th edition Real Book has the A sections notated with repeat signs and first and second time bars. The B section sees our first key change to the relative major, B flat major, through a 2-5-1. Don't worry about these slash chords here. They're intended more for a bass line. There's another key change to A flat major through a 2-5-1. Joining these 2 keys together, we see a somewhat random, unrelated 2-5 in what would be A major, B minor 7, E7. More on this later. Finally, D7 flat 9, the 5 chord, sets us up to go back to G minor again for the last A section. I'm sure many of you have been wondering what these funny looking symbols on the lead sheet are. Well, this one is called the segno, or the sign, and this one is the coda. And this line right at the bottom, which says, after solos DS al coda take repeat, tells us how to finish the tune. The DS part, which means dal segno, or literally from the sign, tells us to go back to bar 1, where the sign is, and play the full melody again. Both A sections, the B section, and the last A section, until we arrive at the first coda sign. This coda sign is actually called the to coda sign. My preference is to put the word to in front so there's no confusion, but okay, whatever. So after we complete this bar of music, we jump forward to the coda at the bottom of the page to finish the tune. Essentially what we've done with this DS al coda business is play the last 4-bar phrase again. This is called a tag ending. As written, this would be a 2-time tag ending, because the last phrase has been played twice. Now, if you don't fully understand all this DS al coda stuff, don't worry about it. It's taken me years and years to get the hang of it, and I still mess it up today, so it's all just a part of the learning process. I highly recommend finding a couple different versions of this song on YouTube and reading along with the chart. You'll fairly quickly get the hang of it. First of all, I'd like to talk about the importance of learning the melody to every tune. A solo is basically just one big melody. And if you want your lines to actually sound like they are a melody, then really, to me, the best way is just to play a bunch of melodies. And the way that I like to learn my tunes is I like to learn the melodies in this lower register of the bass, this sort of walking bass register, if you like to call it that, and typically 1 octave higher as well, up around the sort of 10th to 12th fret area. Up here, the notes tend to sing out a bit more, so that's why I also like to play them up here. Plus it teaches you where the notes are a bit better. This is often an area of the neck that bass players don't know that well, so I think it's a good idea just to learn to play some melodies up here as well. And up the octave, it would sound something like this. So the first sound that we're going to use is the same one we've been using for the previous 2 lessons, and that's just going to be the blues scale. So let's look at it in the key of G. So we're going to go way up here on the A string, going to go to the 10th fret of the A string, and that's G. And then we want the 8th fret of the D string, B flat, and again we're going to shift and play the 10th, 11th and 12th frets on the D string, C, C sharp and D. And we'll play F, 10th fret of the G string, and the octave G on the 12th fret of the G string. And that's 1 octave of the G blues scale. Once again, if you want to extend the range downwards further, you can do that as well. So we got F, 8th fret of the A string, D, C sharp, C on the 10th, 9th and 8th frets of the E string. And if we want, we can toss in this B flat note on the 6th fret of the E string. So that's all these notes. And we may as well toss in a B flat up here because that sounds cool. That's on the 15th fret of the G string. Just a bit more range. So that's the G blues, and that's all we're going to do for the first demo. Really, really simple, and that should take care of the first two A sections. So let's have a listen to the first demo now. For the B section chords, there's a nice little shortcut that we can take to help us to get through the changes, and that's simply just continuing to use the G blues notes. We can just use all of those notes over the 2-5-1 in B flat major, because G minor and B flat major are actually the same key. Right? G minor is the relative minor of B flat major. They have all the same notes. So we can simply use the G blues over that 2-5-1, and it'll sound pretty good. It won't sound perfect, but it'll sound pretty good. For the 2-5-1 in A flat major, we can continue to use the G blues, but just leave out the note D. The note D doesn't really fit into that key. And this is the same type of approach that we took in the lesson on blue bossa. We just left out the fifth in one of those exercises. Can't remember which one it was, but G blues, leave out the fifth. And that will also work quite nicely over that 2-5-1. So that's a nice little shortcut that you can use. In addition to using the G blues scale, we can also use what's called guide tones. Now, guide tones are where we take a note that's in each chord and we use those notes to help us to get through the changes. Now, any note can be used as a guide tone, but I think the best ones to start with would be the thirds and sevenths. So if we look at the 2-5-1 in B flat for C minor 7, let's say we use B flat, so that would be the 7 on C minor 7. And let's use the third A of F7. And you'll notice that those notes are directly next to each other, and that helps to join those two chord sounds together in a nice, smooth way. And let's say we use the note D for B flat major 7. That will be the third of that chord. We can do the same type of thing for the 2-5-1 in A flat major. So for B flat minor 7, let's just do the same type of approach. So we'll use A flat for the B flat minor 7. That will be the flat 7. We can play it up here or we can play it down the octave. It's all good. And we'll use the note G, which will be the third of E flat 7. And for A flat major 7, once again, let's just use the C. So we'll use the third on A flat major 7 as our guide tone. So what do we do for this B minor 7, E7 chord progression that's jammed in between these two 2-5-1s? Well, we can use the same kind of guide tone approach. So there are two notes that would actually work perfectly over both chords, and that will be the notes B and D. For B minor 7, B is of course the root, and D is the third. And for E7, B is the fifth, and D is the 7. So you can use either of those two guide tones when that part comes up. Alternatively, you can just not play. And that's also a perfectly viable way of playing. You know, using some space. So let's take a listen to the next demo where we're going to be using the G blues, but also using guide tones to help outline the chord changes a bit more clearly. Lastly, we're going to try to give our solos a bit more color by outlining some of the other chords that we see in the A sections. As mentioned, we can just play G blues over the entire A section and it sounds pretty good. But there are some other chords in there too that we can try to outline a bit more closely. So the ones we're going to be talking about are the 2 5s in G minor, A minor 7 flat 5, leading to D7. And so the notes that we're going to use for those chords will be the notes A and F sharp. So for the note A, we can play that on the 14th fret of the G string, or we can play it down the octave on the 12th fret of the A string. And this note will work on both A minor 7 flat 5 and also on D7. And for F sharp, that will work well over D7 because that's the third of that chord. So F sharp, we can play it on the 11th fret of the G string and also down the octave. We can play it on the 9th fret of the A string. So have a listen to the final demo now where we're trying to outline those 2 5 chords a bit more. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you wish to support my efforts here on YouTube, there is a link down below to my Patreon page. From there, you can download all of the demo transcriptions in both standard notation as well as tab, and all the other exercises from previous lessons as well. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.